Hi, I'm Al Bangert, and we have an exciting opportunity today. Today we're here in the back of the new public safety building, and Mike Davis is going to come along shortly and meet up with Chief Stewart and Chief Murphy and take a tour of the building. So it's still under construction, but it's ahead of schedule and things are moving well. So it'll be an interesting tour of the building. You're going to get a sneak peek, and I think I see Mike coming right now. Hey Mike, how are you?
How you doing, Al?
Good. You gonna go in and see Chief Stewart first?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's gonna be a fun day.
Sounds great.
Hi,
Mike, how you doing?
How are you doing, Chief? It's good to see you.
Good to see you. You'll have to excuse some of the construction mess here, but we're in full swing in construction mode, so.
Well, this is a good place to enter, I guess. This is called the Sally Port, I guess.
Yes, this is where our guests enter. Certain guests.
Yeah, certain guests enter this way.
So, if we have an arrest,
I'm not one of those guests today. I just want you to know that.
if we have an arrest out on the street, the cruiser brings them by the station. So they'll be coming in this door over here. They come in, they check their weapons in a safe over here, and then they take the prisoner and they go into the booking room. Now this other bay we try to keep open as best we can, because what happens with probably 25 to 30% of our people who come here as guests, they end up needing medical treatment.
Okay.
So we keep this open and we can get the ambulance in. This bay is big enough to get the ambulance in, so they can pull right in. No more walking the prisoner through the station on a cot out the front door.
Yeah. Well, as maybe the viewers remember, in the old facility, it was storage, it was complicated, it was a long walk, it was inconvenient and unsafe.
You're absolutely
for everybody.
right. In this building here, we've addressed all those concerns. We have plenty of storage, we have storage upstairs, and we have gun safes. So, you know, with every best practice as it relates to Sally Port operations, detention cell operations are being incorporated into this building.
Perfect. All right, well, let's start our walkthrough. This is exciting. It's obviously going to look a lot different once it's finished.
Once it's open, yes.
Yeah.
So in order to get into any section of the building, you have to swipe a card. Okay, so going into this detention area, you'd swipe a card.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So once into this area, there'll be a custom-made booking desk here and a custom-made booking desk over there. We're going to have the ability to book 2 at a time. Certain nights, such as July 3rd, it's not unusual for us to have 20, 40 arrests.
Okay.
So we need the ability to process these people in a hurry and get them out of here so we can get officers back on the road. So the prisoner comes in, they sit on this, they get handcuffed to the Murphy bar, and then they're processed. It's a nice, safe process.
And if there were more than 2, 4, 6, where do the other?
The others, there's
Guests?
Murphy bars and seating over here,
Okay.
so they'd get handcuffed to that,
Okay.
and then they just wait.
Okay.
Worst case scenario would keep some out in the garage with officers. So in order to get out of this, I showed you how you had to swipe your way in. In order to get out of this room, it's, you know, we're considering if somebody sees you, a prisoner sees you swipe your way in, well, that's his way out.
Right.
So they're not going to be able to just pull your card and go swipe their way out. There's also numbers that you have to hit to get out of here.
Good. That's
so
double security.
You know, once you're in here, you're secured. We're trying to factor everything in.
Okay, so we can move on through. I see a little red button here on the wall. What does that do?
This is a panic alarm.
Okay.
Okay, if anything's going on here and it ends up turning into a fight, which happens a decent amount of times in here, unfortunately, the officer can hit that, and what it does is it sends alerts throughout the building that there's a problem down here. The good thing is that now, once the prisoner is searched thoroughly, and we check our weapons, the fights that happen in here, there's no firearm involved anymore.
Right. Just out of curiosity, when that button is pushed, how many people typically would be able to respond within a reasonable period of time?
It depends on what time of day it is.
Right.
Generally, there's a police officer who's bringing the prisoner in, and then the sergeant comes in and books that prisoner. So during that process, the officer may have to go to dispatch and get paperwork relative to the arrest. But during the daytime, there could be detectives upstairs. I could be in my office. All of us have an alert. There's a blue light on the ceiling, and
So everybody would come to this point.
pretty much you come until
I mean,
you're not needed.
other than people who would be required to stay at their assigned location.
Right, and coming in the other door, there's also a gun safe. There will be no weapons in this area when there's a prisoner in this area.
Right. Wow.
Over on this side over here is where there'll be a fingerprint machine and a breathalyzer. So once you're processed there, you come over, you sit. If it's a breathalyzer that you're waiting for, the breathalyzer machine warms up. Everything is videoed in here. We got a camera up here, we got a camera on that end, you know, and over in here. And obviously they're handcuffed to the Murphy bar. So we're eliminating the possibility of having an assault take place in here.
That's great. And that protects everybody, the officers and the guest.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, good.
So from this booking room area, we take the guests in here. The cell block area consists of a nice, comfortable cement slab, completely washable floor. Everything in here is suicide-proof. Okay, it'll have video capabilities which pan out so that it doesn't include or collect the toilet facilities. It also has audio. So we can communicate from dispatch with a prisoner in here. If a prisoner was yelling that they wanted something. But we have, anytime there's somebody in this cell, there's also a jailer. There'll be somebody out here watching that person. And every 15 minutes, that jailer has to come down and do a visual on them. And we know that took place because the jailer has to come down and hit this keypad. So, electronically, computer-wise, it's keeping track of everything that jailer does as far as monitoring.
It was like the old fire watch where you had to go over and turn a key, and
That's correct.
It kept track of that, I guess, in the old days.
So these doors are all, I hope I got a key, but these are awesome. They're compliant. It's everything that we don't have right now. So in the cell block area right now, we've gone with 4 male cells and 2 female cells. Right now in our current facility, we have 8 male cells. All right, they're in various states of non-compliance. 4 of them we actually use for storage. So the prisoner process has changed over the course of the last 30 years, and it's a much quicker process. They're not in here for as long as we used to have them at the station. We used to have weekend guests at the station. That never happens anymore. They're usually in here 4 to 8 hours tops, and if we're gonna have them any longer than that, we ship them down to the House of Correction, and they're kept in a safe keep program down there. So this the detention area is it's compliant with all the state regs. As I had said, we've always struggled. We've been non-compliant for many years, and it puts the onus on me to come up with a correction plan. A plan of correction is what they want, and you can't fix things that are that broken.
Right, and it would have been a lot of expense unnecessarily in the old facility.
Unnecessary expense, but it's also, the liability, that's the thing that everybody's concerned with. So it was nice this year to be able to write a plan of correction that included, come mid-March, we'll be leaving this facility and we'll be in a completely compliant facility.
Excellent. So we'll get a good grade for that.
All the urinals and sinks in these, they're stainless steel. All the plumbing backs up to one wall. And it's the same over here. These are the flush buttons.
Oh, okay.
So they have no control over that. We're not going to have a prisoner in there hitting it and flooding the place out. If a toilet needs to be flushed, we come in and we hit a button and it flushes the toilet. What's become, over the last several years, it's been very difficult to manage juvenile prisoners. The age on juveniles a couple of years ago jumped up. Now it includes any person under the age of 18.
Okay.
All right, so if if we have a prisoner who's under the age of 18, for instance, if they're arrested for possessing alcohol, that's considered a status offense. They're only under arrest because of their age. We can't put them in a cell, a secure cell. So what we have to do is we have to put them in an unlocked room where we can monitor them until we get a parent up here that they can be released to. So over here is the juvenile watch room. We'd end up putting them in this room. There'll be furniture in the room, and we have to be present with them the whole time.
Is this something relatively new?
It's changed over the last several years.
So that particular individual, because of the status in the law, obviously, can't go into a cell.
Right.
In that
Anybody-
situation.
Any status offenders,
Okay.
they're arrested strictly because of their age.
All right.
So if you're under 21 and you possess alcohol, that's a status offense. And if you're under 18 and that's your offense, then you have to be monitored. You can't go in a cell. We do have a secure juvenile cell right around the corner, and that's for somebody if they stole a car, they broke into a house, things like that. We don't have to treat them with the kid gloves that we do a status offender.
I understand. Thank
They're
you.
going to experience the true meaning of being locked up.
Thanks for that clarification.
Here, our prisoner release process, okay? Right now, our prisoner release process means that you bring the prisoner downstairs, they exchange paperwork with the clerk from the court, and then they walk out the front door. And, you know, it's not always pleasant as they're leaving, they're not always happy. And we might have a civilian in there trying to make a complaint, and they're exposed to this. This process here, this door is a prisoner release door, and it goes into the public parking area. So if somebody's in custody and they need to be bailed, the person coming up to bail them will come in this door. The clerk of courts will be behind this piece of glass here, and the paperwork or the money goes under here. The prisoner comes in another port over here. So the prisoner goes in to this area, and they sign the paperwork that they'll be in court and any other stipulation that the clerk is putting on them. And then the prisoner comes in here and is released there. So no more walking through the building. We get them out into a public area, and they can go about their business.
And that's the only purpose of that door?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is a secure interview room. If it's an audio and video recorded interview room. So if something happens and the detectives or an officer wants to interview that person, then they will go in this room. And it's all video, audio, everything's recorded while you're in there. And that wraps up the detention area. This is the evidence storage room, okay? As you'll see, you need a keypad to get in here. There'll be limited access, maybe two, probably the evidence officer. The deputy chief will be the only ones with that. I don't need it. There's no reason for me to be in there. Anybody going in there, you got a nice camera right there. It's good. It's not only you're going to have to swipe your way in, but you're going to be on video the whole way. Pretty much the whole building, all the hallways in here, you're on video. And
Well, I know evidence has been in the news recently with
Absolutely.
different issues coming up within the state, and I know that this would protect, again, everybody from...
anything that goes wrong with your evidence processing, or it's all accountability, and it affects the integrity of the department. So you really got to pay a lot of attention to your evidence storage. From inside the evidence room, these lockers here will be set up in this wall, this opening right here. On the other side is a police officer's report room. The officer comes in, and during the process of writing their report, any evidence that they have, they will turn around and put it in one of these lockers from that side. It can only, and then they put the key in, and it can only be opened from inside the evidence room. So if they come in and they have drugs, or if they have a knife or something like that, they process it over there, and then they turn around, they put it in one of these lockers. And then from there, the only person who can open it is the evidence officer from the inside the evidence room. He opens it, and now he stores it.
So this comes in from the back, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
It's two-sided?
these lockers here, they're two-sided lockers, and they'll go in this opening right here.
Okay.
And it also includes a refrigeration unit. So certain, blood evidence and things like that, it has to be stored properly. this is a significant improvement to our system right now. Our system right now consists of an old mailbox in a hallway, which you dump your evidence in with a report, and it's taken downstairs. And, we've made the best of a bad situation. This brings us up to compliance,
Now, speaking of that, I think the viewers, if they saw the previous episode, we realized how much you and the officers had to make do and try to make the best of what you had. So this improves and makes everything perfect, essentially, for today's environment.
Yes, it's incredible. And the officers are very excited about it. Over the period of construction, we've made efforts to bring the officers up here so that they can see how their world is going to be changing. And, while we've never complained at our current facility and we've made do with it, it's just nice to see everything changing for the better. Out here, the public parking area is right around the corner, and this is the entrance to the training room in the Emergency Operations Center. During storms or any other incident that requires a command post type setup, this is where we're going to operate out of. And it also gives us the ability, we can have a 60-person training session in there, which is going to be tremendous for the Scituate officers. Right. It's also, it can be used for community purposes as well.
I was just going to ask you that question.
That's significant. Most of the time at night, there won't be much going on in here as far as police training. In the times that we're not using it, which is, rare that we'd use it for an emergency operations center, it's going to be available to the public upon request for public meetings.
And the request would come through here or through Town Hall? Do we know yet?
That'll still probably go through Town Hall, through Michelle Spaghetti.
Right. Good.
Once inside, this is the lobby area. It comes with handicap accessible women and men's room. And then you enter into the training area. To the left is the police building. Okay, that'll be a secure door. You're going to have to, only officers will be able to get through that door. But to the right is our training room. This room is pretty much, it's laid out for all day, like an 8-hour training session, or it's also capable of being an emergency operations center days on end. Okay, we have a little kitchenette area. There's storage for all the tables and chairs. We'll be able to arrange this a number of different ways if we had to. What it's also going to include is a video wall. So we'll be able to pick up video feeds from certain areas of town that we have videoed. The thought is that down the road, areas such as Central Ave and Humrock, Oceanside Drive, Glades Road, that we have the ability to turn around and bring those areas up in the Emergency Operations Center. A lot of these flooding storms, we end up having to go down, the fire department goes down and does evacuations. There's certain areas right now that you got to be careful. If you have a seawall breach, or if the beach is breached in any area, you don't want to commit resources down into those areas and have them get trapped or get in trouble. So we're going to have down the road, we're going to have the ability to monitor that in the EOC. And if we see a breach, if we see water that's too deep or rushing water that could be from a seawall breach, then we're not going to commit forces into that area, not unless we absolutely have to.
Is this area, do you have the ability to set up cots for overnight? And
you would probably do that in other rooms rather than in this room. This is going to be, ground zero.
And this is going to be a table, set up chairs? And
we can set it up a number of different ways.
Okay. Perfect. I love the high ceilings too. I mean, it's very open, so you have...
Yeah, and there's a projector screen that comes down, and it'll be conducive to a number of different uses. But the community use you know, if somebody has a meeting that they want to have in here, the Little League or somebody else, they can come in. They, you know, they got to organize it with the town, but they'll be able to come in, get a key, and come in and use this at night. This area here, right now, is going to be a joint police fire dispatch. We're going to have 2 main stations. These stations are already in place.
So these are for monitors?
These are for monitors here, which will be, we plan on going online either March 1st or 2nd with the next generation 911 system. Next Gen, GD has got the bid now, so they're taking over for Verizon, who had it for years, and it's a whole new process. So we're going to be online with the newest of the.
And I know that there's a very hard date for turnover.
When the state Next Gen says that this is your date, this is your date.
Right.
And so we're hustling to be prepared for that date, and we will make it.
Good.
So everything that feeds these computers, these stations, comes through. There's a recess under this floor of about 1 foot. All of the wires come through and come up in one conduit to each one of these desks. There's no spaghetti under the desk. You know, it's easy enough. If you had to pick up a carpet tile and access it, it's easy enough to do. It has its own, the air conditioning units and heat units. On this side here, the 2 stations that we currently have in our existing building are relatively new. They're probably only 2 to 3 years old. And we're going to make use of those up here. So there'll be 2 more stations against this wall. So during times of, you know, significant storms or other times, we'll be able to bring in additional dispatchers.
And is this going to be segregated police fire? Is that how it works?
They're going to be cross-trained.
Okay.
You know, they're in a training process right now. There's a significant learning curve for the police dispatchers to learn the fire operations, and likewise. But eventually, they're going to be cross-trained, and they'll run very similar to what a regional dispatch like Hingham has.
Yeah. I see Chief Murphy's here in the background. You might as well come in. Good morning again. It's Mike Davis. Yeah. Any comments about this particular facility and the combination of police and fire dispatch?
Well, combined dispatch right now, especially for the EMD, emergency medical dispatch, is going to enable basically right now, one person, one dispatcher gets the people on the apparatus, gets them on the road, gets them to the scene, but they also going to do emergency medical dispatch, basically giving consultation and help to the person on the phone. So now the recommendation, the standard is to have 2 dispatchers do that. One could take the dispatching component of it, the other can help with the emergency medical dispatch part of it, basically consulting with the person on the phone, helping them with CPR, whatever it is, to try to get them some guidance before we get there. So this is key for us to have 2 dispatchers at the same time.
And I imagine the 2 of you have had to have meetings to decide how things, even though it might be in a book somewhere.
We've been working on this for 3, almost 4 years now.
For the long run.
That's great, because I mean, you both know the ins and outs of what you had, what you have now, and it's just going to be so much. I think it only will bring the 2 operations together more closely. It's going to do that for sure.
Police and fire work closely in a town like Scituate. They should in any setting, but especially in Scituate. The other row of desks, there'll be 2 more against this wall. It'll take up pretty much the whole wall. There's 2 window stations here. So somebody comes through the front door and they need to talk to an officer or they want to report something, one of the dispatchers will get up and be able to deal with them. A lot of times in our current facility, 2 people come in at the same time. So one's standing behind the other listening to the first one's complaint. You'll at least be able to address them at 2 different windows. These windows are ballistically secure, as are the walls.
I hadn't thought about that in this setting as much as I did in the other setting.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the day and age that we live in now.
But you got to prepare for that. Prepare for the worst, I guess, is the answer.
We'll get a locker. There's the full-time dispatchers get a larger locker. The part-time dispatchers will at least get, you know, something to put their personal belongings in. It has a handicap accessible bathroom and a kitchenette.
Okay, so it's for both male and female.
Yes.
Currently, right now, they have to have somebody cover them to use the bathroom or to get a bite to eat or something like that. So right now, they have everything in-house, bathroom, a little kitchenette for them, so everything's sort of self-contained.
You never know when something's going to, 911's going to start ringing off the hook.
Right.
For one accident, you might get 10 calls on it. For a building fire, you might get 15. You know, people see that from a distance and they call. So if one of the dispatchers out on break and they're not in this room, it gets hectic for that one dispatcher trying to manage those calls, dispatch police, get fire apparatus on the road, and to continue to get good information that they can feed back to the responding unit. So the idea is that while one might be on a break, they're still in this area where if the phone starts ringing off the wall, they can jump back into service.
Perfect.
Mike, I'd like you to meet Laurie Bates. She's
Hi.
clerk of the works. She works the town.
Glad to
She's
meet
a
you.
town.
How are you?
Nice to
Mike
meet
Davis.
you.
Yep. So Laurie, what do you think? Just tell me off the top right
You know,
now.
I think that the project really came out wonderfully. I mean, we're getting close to the end at this point, and we've been very, very happy with the progress. Luckily, we were able to start last year in December, and it was a mild winter, so they were able to get the foundation in the ground, and it's come along really well.
Do you, well, I guess you represent
Yes, Vertex.
Vertex, and you're between the town and the contractor.
Exactly. We're sort of like a third-party consultant to make sure the town gets the product that's been designed and, you know, to represent the town out here on a daily basis.
Any surprises to date?
And I can't really say there's been, a lot of bumps in the road as usual, but
Expected.
no, yes, exactly. So no major issues. So,
Yeah, I think,
yes.
I would be remiss if I didn't thank everybody involved, yourself, the fire department, the police department, town hall, everybody in town hall,
Yes.
and the residents. I mean, the residents
Absolutely.
really supported this.
Yes,
And
yeah.
I know it's a tough year with everything going on. However,
correct,
they
yes.
supported it. We did, and you weren't involved with it, but we did a walkthrough of the previous stations, both police and fire,
Yeah.
and had a tour and really focused on
Right.
how they were making do.
Yes,
It was in-
absolutely,
it was
which
in
is what
tough
we've
shape.
found with a lot of police and fire departments. I mean, they really need upgrades.
Have
They
you been
need new
involved in
buildings.
other facilities?
Portions of other buildings,
Okay,
yes,
good,
yes.
good.
But this is the first public safety building.
Well, listen, I'll let you go back to
All
work.
right,
Make sure
great.
everything's
Thank
happening.
you so much.
Opening date?
February 21st is substantial completion, so we'll be in the building in March.
Okay,
Yeah,
and full facility, you're out of here and everybody's out of here, what date?
Well, we're looking at March 17th right now, but that St. Patrick's Day, we're not so sure about that one.
Well, we might have to
so-
celebrate a little bit.
Exactly,
Take
great.
care.
Nice
Thank
to
you
meet
so
you,
much.
thank you.
All right. Well, here we are at the front entrance, and this would be the entrance that most guests, but not guests.
Yes. If somebody comes in and they want to talk to fire admin or police admin, or they have a complaint, we have a lot of walk-ins. I'd say probably close to 30% of our calls for service are walk-ins. So they'd walk through the front door, they'd come in, and they'll go to one of the two dispatch windows. All right, and from there, they'll either wait for an officer to come by, or there's a resource center here. If they're coming in looking for accident reports, there'll be accident reports on file right here. There's also a public records window, which will be manned 5 hours a day during the weekdays. So if they're coming in looking for records, whether it's an accident record, an old police report, or something like that, they'll go to that window, and then they're not tying up dispatchers.
And so if, at this point in time, I imagine there'll be like signage here of which way you go to do what?
Right here, there's going to be a nice big seal, town seal, on that wall. That's why it's been left blank to this point.
Okay.
We were measuring it out yesterday, and it's going to look nice. So the other thing, in front of this town seal that'll be up, is this is where we'll do press conferences. A lot of times, if we have to do a press conference, we could, we can't use the training room because chances are that's being used as an EOC. And so this is going to be the location for that.
Okay, great. I had asked Tricia earlier that wondered what guests might be coming. Do you have any idea what guests will help cut the ribbon? If you cut the ribbon, or somebody's going to cut a ribbon?
We haven't got that far yet. We're going to get through construction, and then we'll figure out the ceremonial pieces.
I figured some of that would take a long lead time. That's why I was wondering who's going to show
No,
up.
I'm sure it's being worked on by the town administrator and at that level, but right
you had
now,
an
Chief
inside
Murphy and I, we want to get the building built and get in here.
Good, you have your priorities.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
I suppose you have other things to be doing today, so I'll let
Yes,
you go.
I do.
Hello again, it's just me.
Hi, Mike.
Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
I guess now we're going to move into your side of the building, your home away from home for a while,
Yes,
hopefully.
yes. So we're looking forward to that.
Many
So-
years, I hope.
Yes, a long time. So this is our main foyer, as Chief Stewart mentioned, the dispatch on the right, applications and permits and any information the public may need. Smoke detector information is over here too. They can get information there as well. Going into this side over here, our first entrance off this main foyer is we have a bath here, but our triage room. We have the triage room because often we get people walking in, doing walk-ins, we call them, into our fire stations. And currently, we triage them in kitchens and in our radio room or our dispatch area. So it's not very safe, it's not very private. So now all stations, we're expecting more and more to changes in the insurance, more and more walk-ins. So that's what we're planning for the future. So we have a triage room over here we'll take you through, basically to give an evaluation to see if we can treat you here and let you go, or we got to transport you to the hospital or to another facility. So I'll take you into the triage room if you don't mind.
Good.
Mike, this is going to be set up almost like a doctor's office. We'll have a triage cot here. We'll have a chair, blood pressure cuff, probably a cardiac monitor, and whatever else we need storage to give somebody a complete exam, find out what we need, how we can treat them, how we can help them, and then decide from there, are we going to transport them to the hospital, or are we going to release them, patch them up, whatever it takes. We can also call the hospital here. If dire changes are coming down the road, call paramedicine, where are we going to take them? Primary care, a urgent care facility, or South Shore Hospital. So, and sometimes we have to take people to Boston if the need exists. So this triage room is going to be key for us. And also the other station down at headquarters, down at Station 1, having some of our management coming up here is going to make room for a triage room down there too. So we're making room for down there as well. So the enhancements up here help this building, help the town, help the fire department, but also help our operations down at Station 1. So to make some room down there to expand.
Wow, it's interesting, especially the part, and we talked about it before, about the insurance companies and where the direction that relatively minor things would be handled here instead of going to a hospital, whatever. And the ability, I think, sometime down the road, probably when the insurance companies decide to have billing happen through the town and whatever, that's off in the distance, I think.
Correct. It's some states are doing it already. They're estimating here that about 40% of people who go to the hospital now will not be going to the hospital. So they were treated here, urgent care, their primary care, or treated at home. So that's what's coming down the road. So we have to prepare for that, and this triage room is a great help to us. So Mike, next to our triage room, we have a laundry room. Every fire station has a laundry room because as firefighters go to potential fires, hazmat situations, medical calls, we don't want them taking home any contaminants they may have here, they may have gotten at work. So we have a laundry room here so they can wash their clothes here to not take it home to their families. It's basically it's a standard that all fire stations have.
That's great.
In addition
I know we talked about that at the old location, and it was, as best you can, a washing machine in the middle of
In the
somewhere.
old station, we had the weight room right next to the laundry room, which was next to the apparatus bay, the exhaust, and all that. So having the separate facility here, especially the triage room, and a locked-up medical room, I'll show you now. But no, having the ability to have all these things separated is going to help us immensely.
Do you have I assume, a disposal area? If somebody comes in and they've had an injury which requires you to put them in a Johnny, for example, and dispose of their clothing or secure their clothing in some way, do you have a way to do that too?
If we're going to get to that point, we'll be taking them to the hospital. So the hospital will take those soiled clothing, but we also do have a hazard container, like a trash barrel, if you will, for anything we use that's soiled, bloodied, stuff like that, that we actually dispose of at the hospital.
Good. So I notice here's the storage room. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Before we go in the apparatus bay, we have a medical storage facility here. These are locked up cabinets that we'll have for any type of the drugs they carry in the ambulance, anything that's delicate that we shouldn't have in a regular storage room, that only the paramedics will use this, and they'll all be keyed in here so we can know who comes in here, when they come in here, and they'll actually have records in here and logs to take out what drugs they may have to change out. Most of the stuff we do at the hospital, but there are some stuff we carry here to make sure the ambulances complement and what they need for their supplies.
As you can see, construction is still underway, and we're
Yes, it
trying
is.
not to get in the way
Right.
and slow anything down, for
Right.
sure.
So again, if we have somebody that's coming out of the triage room, we're going to transport, we're going to bring them through this door, I'll take in the apparatus bay, and the first bay will have an ambulance here, so we can make a streamlined, quick transfer to the ambulance to the hospital. Just before we get to the apparatus bay, Mike, this is our bunker gear room. All the fire gear is set up in here. Every firefighter will have a separate cage here to set up their gear, their helmet, their bunker gear, their boots and all that. And so this stays separate. We don't allow any bunker gear inside the building. Again, when we have a fire or something gets soiled, we also have, I'll show you a little bit in the decon room, we have the ability to wash our gear to make sure we can limit the amount of contaminants that gear has, for not taking and spreading around the building, but also for the firefighters' health and safety. So this is where all the gear is set up. They'll have, all the fire, the helmets, again, jackets and pants, and keep that separate from everything else. So they can come in from both sides. If they're out here in the morning, they take the gear out, put them on the apparatus, and and when they're getting off shift, they'll take the stuff off the apparatus and they'll hang it in here. And especially if you get a fire, it has a chance to hang dry. We also have washers and dryers if it's soiled or if it's fairly wet.
I think you answered before in the previous interview that the number of firefighters are in town today. There was a number.
Total firefighters?
Full firefighters.
Full-time firefighters, we have 40 firefighters, 8 officers, a deputy and a chief right now. So, but there'll probably be 4 firefighters up here. At the old station, there was barely room for 2,
Right.
as you remember. So this will give us the ability up here to have 4 firefighters on duty 24/7 is the long-term goal. But so now we'll have an ambulance up here. Currently, the Station 3 has 1 engine and no room to expand. So this will give us the ability to expand and enhance the capability to have an ambulance and an engine going on in a timely manner. Currently, if somebody's in the West End up by Arrowwood Drive, it takes us about 8 minutes from Station 3 to get there. Add 3 to 4 minutes for that for our ambulance out of Station 1. A 12-minute response time is just far too long. So now having an ambulance and an engine up here, 2 minutes closer, now we're 5 to 6 minutes out from the West End and Minot with an ambulance and an engine. So it's key for the response times for fire and EMS. We all know, we've gone over what happens, fire doubles every 30 seconds, potential for that. And also in EMS, after 4 or 5 minutes, typically you start to lose brain function. If you're having a heart attack, blood flow stops. So this is critical for our response times, for the location of the whole building, but also the ability to put an ambulance up here.
That's wonderful. All right, moving into the big building, or the big section, I should say. So here we are in the garage. No,
Yeah.
that's not the real
Well, it's a garage, but it's an apparatus bay. So this is where we house our main apparatus. Up here we'll have an ambulance, an engine, a spare engine, and a forest truck that we know of. And the bays are all 60 feet long. There are doors in the front and the back. So if we had to have a forest truck go out the back or a spare engine, they can go that route and go around. And our primary apparatus can stay up here. So there are times when our primary apparatus may stay and maybe mutual aid or for whatever reason, whether it's a boat, a forest truck, whatever, they can go out the rear door and go on their way.
And I see on 3A, when you're exiting, obviously the new lights are here, so they'll automatically go to red to stop all traffic,
Yeah.
so the apparatus can get out.
Correct. The new light system now, the street lights, are going to be blank. Nothing's going to be lit up. So when they're out there, it's to reduce the confusion of a flashing yellow light, because what happens is when we press the button, or dispatch presses the button for the emergency guys to go out, the apparatus to leave, a flashing yellow light on 3A will go, then it will turn red. So instead of people getting complacent with a slow yellow light and then a flash showing light, maybe creating confusion, now it's going to be no lights out there at all, only when the apparatus is being dispatched, where those lights go fast yellow and then go to red.
Great.
So we have that capability in the dispatch center, and also here there's a button out here if the guys have to go and for some reason they had to go quick, but there's a switch out here as well. And off the apparatus bay again for 3 bays, the ambulance, engine, spare engine, forest truck. Over here we have 2 rooms. Here we have a decon room, similar to the laundry room we talked about earlier, Mike, for the contaminants of your clothing, for the regular laundry room. In here, we're going to have a sink, a large sink here that we can actually clean off our backboards and straps. Sometimes we take people to the hospital, say it's a car accident, they're bloody, we get them on the stretcher, the backboard, then the stretcher, the straps get contaminated. So in here, we can decontaminate them, hang them dry, but we have a large sink here that can actually be used for the straps, but also a backboard can fit right in here. There's also a decon shower over here, so if somebody got some of their eyes or say something, a hazard out there that we came in contact with, they can decontaminate the whole firefighter in their clothing by wetting them down. A lot of these decontaminants can be reduced just by wetting somebody down. Also in this room, as I said earlier, we don't want anybody with any type of fire gear going in the building. We don't want to contaminate the main building. So we do have a toilet out here, we call it a dirty toilet, that if they're in fire gear, they get back from a fire and they have to use the bathroom, they can use this bathroom, continue to get the apparatus back in service, getting hose, water, whatever it's on there, Scott packs back in service, they can use this bathroom. Also in this corner here, we're going to have a commercial grade laundry that can wash our bunker gear and the fire gear, so the pants and the jackets can be washed in here to keep the contaminants out. They're finding a lot of times now that the studies have gotten that firefighters are more at risk for a lot of things, but especially cancer. So cancer is a big, through the research, they're finding out that a lot of it's coming from the contaminants that we have in a fire that are still in our clothes, still in our gear. So we have a standing order that anytime we have a fire, the next morning, they leave the gear here. It's going to be washed immediately before they get back for the next shift. So we got to reduce, the chances of cancer and all the other health hazards that firefighters come in contact with. So a decon room to have the ability to not bring our gear in the building, but also to wash that gear after some type of hazard, whether it could be medical, could be fire, or it could be a hazmat situation. We'll have the capability to wash the gear here. So Mike, above us here in the middle of the apparatus bay, we have these large yellow vacuum hoses, is basically what they are. This attachment here magnetically will connect to the exhaust on our apparatus. This keeps the exhaust down. Again, talking about cancer, benzene, that's a diesel fuel, diesel exhaust can cause cancer. So what we do when the truck is backing in and when it leaves, we connect this hose magnetically to our exhaust. It stays on there. When the trucks are started up, they just go. That actually comes off automatically to reduce significantly the exhaust that can come in the apparatus bay, so we don't have to breathe that. We don't have this is our main exhaust system, so this will help us reduce causes of cancer, benzene as a diesel fuel, and just smoke in general. So there's one for each bay. There's 6 total for the rear bays and the front bays, and the new system now is magnetically, instead of used to have air bladders, which required more bending over, due to possible injury, stuff like that. So a newer system, we're very happy with that. Again, the rest of the apparatus bay, we have water fills, air chucks. On this far wall over here, we're going to have an SCBA system brought up from our current Station 3 to reutilize that, and that'll be able to fill up scuba tanks in our air Scott packs that we use in fires. So most of the rest of this room, we have a sprinkler system for the whole building. We have out here exposed, for the sprinkler building itself, but also we can use that for training. So my new personnel that will come in contact with the sprinkler system, we can show them all the components and how it works in an ordinary building. They're all pretty much the same.
Wonderful.
We use the apparatus bay too for training, different things we use in the trucks. So,
all right. Is there anything else out here while we're looking around?
Above us here, if you want to look up here, we have a HVAC system. We have a catwalk up here, and all our HVAC compressors and other mechanicals are up here to basically save space. The more square footage, it costs X amount of dollars. So this is a space-saving option that we took. The architects recommended, so we can use this space more functionally, multi-purpose. So all the HVAC components are up here, and we didn't have to expand the building, which saves us money.
Great. All right. Anything else you'd like to add as we end our tour?
Well, I think we're very happy to have the 3 bays. We'd want to thank the town for the support for the whole building, but I know in the end we did have an additional the Sallyport cost in the extra bay here. Long-term functionality. We needed the 3rd bay. We always have a spare engine. This station is usually for mutual aid, so if we have to go to Cohasset, Marshfield, Norwell for a fire, our on-duty personnel leave here, the backup personnel come in here, and they'll man the backup engine. And at times we get something big, storms, stuff like that, we man everything we have. So to have the ability to have the 3 bays and the 60-foot bays is critical for us long term. And again, we appreciate the support for that and the understanding on that.
Great. I know in the old location there was an engine that wouldn't quite, it was like half out.
Yeah, the engine, well, we had a ladder truck. Our ladder truck could not fit in our current Station 3. So if we had to relocate a ladder truck here for some reason, we could do that. The ladder truck's 43 feet long. These bays are 60 feet long. So that was one of the reasons that a 40-foot bay would not work here.
Wow. So we've moved into, it's called the day room, and the living quarters and a kitchen area, I guess, and you might want to talk a little bit about that. We have a male-specific and female-specific quarters, which we did not have in the old location.
Correct, Mike. Down the other station, basically everybody's in the same bunk room at night. We're in the same bunk room. There was really not good quarters set up for females. So in this station here, we had the separation. We're up to code. As we enter off the apparatus bay we just came from, in here we have an office for the officer. There'll be a lieutenant in here. It'll be his office. And as we move in here, down into the main quarters, we have 1 of 5 bunk rooms here. This is the officer who's in charge. So at nighttime, a lot of times he'll be able to get up, answer calls, whatever it is, make decisions, who's going where, and follow up on reports. So his office is right here, and his quarters are right here. In each room, we have 4 others in the middle of the building. You have 4 lockers here. There's 4 shifts, 4 groups. So 4 lieutenants at least have a locker here, a wardrobe locker. We do not have a locker room. We chose to have the additional rooms here so we can expand now and for the future to have the ability to have more firefighters here. So everyone has a wardrobe locker, and that's what they'll use for the clothing change into whatever and when they get out of the gear to just basically, they're living here for 24 hours at a time, sometimes longer.
Right. So when they come from home,
when they come from home, this is their home. So this is their quarters here. And then this is the common quarters as we approach in here that the firefighters have. So in here we have basically, here's our kitchen area. I'll start with the kitchen. This kitchen here, and it's obviously only to be used by fire personnel. This is not a public space. This is a work area for the firefighters that are on duty. So we have, our refrigerators, cabinets, commercial stove. We do have locked, the ability to have 4 locked cabinets here, 1 for each group. It's almost like their pantry, so to speak. So each group will have a different set of pantry. There'll be a kitchen sink coming in here, dishwasher, and a small serving area here. And this kitchen, as you can see at Station 3, was pretty compact. Didn't have a lot of room there. Big single windows. We didn't have the ability to have a commercial stove. We'll also have the safety. We recommend, or we actually mandate the codes that commercial stoves have to have safety mechanisms in there. So anybody that has gas stove, going forward at a certain point, they have to have an ANSEL system. This system here, basically if we have a fire that gets out of control, it'll melt a fusible link and this will extinguish the fire just as in any restaurant. So if we get carried away, if somebody forgets to turn the stove off when we go into this thing, worst case scenario, that will put it out. It's never happened, we hope it never will, but we have to practice what we preach.
It's always embarrassing to have a fire in the fire department.
Yeah, that would be bad. So as we move out here, Mike, we go into our main quarters here, off the kitchen area. Again, this is all private quarters for firefighters. In this area here, we'll have a dining table for the firefighters to eat, and also here we'll have an area where they can sit down, watch TV, and get some rest when they can. So this is their space. Living area, dining area, kitchen area, and then as we said, the lieutenant's bunk room is here. We have 3 bathrooms, co-ed bathrooms down here, locked with showers, and there's also 4 additional bunk rooms in the middle of the building here, but that are almost identical to the one we just saw.
Great. So down there is, okay, those are the other bunk rooms. So
yeah,
all right,
3 bathrooms, 4 bunk rooms there, and off the back of this is the main parking lot, secure parking lot for the fire and police back here, so they can come in and go out this door. There'll be a grill outside if they're grilling outside, a little patio area to get outside, get some air, but this is basically their facility here, and on the other side of the building is the police, and down by that is the EOC, and the one thing we didn't see, but we can just talk about is there'll be a fitness room upstairs, above this area here, and that's for both fire and police. A lot of the building is multi-use for both fire and police, just to save money, save space. So, we expect our firefighters, part of the job is to stay in shape. You're going in to get somebody out, we got to make sure you're in shape, and the police as well. So we want to keep our firefighters and police officers healthy, so we provide a fitness room for them, which is, again, standard in the fire service and police service these days.
Well, I'll tell you, it's wonderful to see this and coming together as it is. Your depth of knowledge and your expectations are right on with what we need to have, and I know your vision was that way before, so we appreciate you taking us through and giving us our tour. We are off to Town Hall to talk to the town administrator, so we'll be following up with her, but best of luck and thanks again.
Thank you again. We appreciate everyone's support.
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. How have you been?
I've been well. I've been well, and you?
Well, the last time we spoke, we were talking about the new library, and now we have the Emergency Operations Center, which is, for anybody that's driven down 3A, we always have to take a look over there and see how it's going. It's it looks like a facility that's going to meet the needs of the town for my lifetime for sure, and probably a lot of people's lifetime, and meet the requirements of the state as far as all of the things that the old facility was lacking. So it's a wonderful, wonderful facility. So tell us a little bit about that. Maybe go back to how it started, where we are today, and where we'll be in the future?
Sure. I'm happy to do that. The police station that we have right now was built in around 1959, and it was also built as a fallout shelter. So those walls in there are 8 feet in some places. So trying to perform, current day law enforcement activities, state of the art, is almost impossible there. And the jail cells and a number of other things in the buildings, physical outlay, were really either not to code or becoming more and more problematic to maintain. So this public safety complex that the town has approved is really the coming together of a number of town challenges that we've had, and now they'll all, we hope, be addressed in this new facility. It's a beautiful building. I think it fits in with the community's character in terms of its design, and that's the result of a lot of hard work and effort by people to make sure it fits in with the community. There's so many aspects that this new and advantages this new facility will give us. I'll just name a few. First, it will have a communication system that combines police and fire dispatch. We have separate police and fire dispatch in the community right now, and that's really not the optimum arrangement for most communities. In fact, we're in the minority of communities that have not had some form of combined dispatch. This way, police and fire will join dispatch at the same time, provide emergency medical dispatch, and it can assist each other in dispatching apparatus as soon as a call comes. Presently, the police department dials down to the fire station. We'll save seconds, but when you have an emergency, seconds can make a lot of difference.
Right.
And we anticipate that will reduce response time to some areas in the West End and the Minot area that have been a concern for a number of years. The facility also brings together all our emergency personnel in one place in the Emergency Operations Center that we've never had. We have no building, no office in town that has the capabilities for all the different folks involved in emergency response to come together, to talk to each other, and be able to coordinate our emergency responses. So that EOC is going to be a vital improvement to our emergency preparedness, but it's also going to be a training room for the police and fire departments, as well as a meeting space. So that's a nice advantage that we're going to have in that new building. And the other thing is it's just going to provide for more space, more storage, more records management and evidence storage areas that were severely lacking here. And it's also going to have a triage room. So if for some reason somebody's in town or a visitor or somebody not familiar with the area driving along Route 3A, they can go to our public safety complex and immediately be treated initially right there in a room specially outfitted for that.
That's wonderful.
And that's forward thinking in terms of the community, because that's the way the medical response effort is going. So we're really, really happy that it's going to be able to provide that.
Yeah. I know when we did the segment on community television with Chief Murphy, he explained that how the emergency responses are changing, and they're becoming so much first aid oriented today versus fire oriented, which is really good news. Well, good news and bad news, but good news that we're having less and less fire responses, which a fire department was, in my generation and your generation, was always a fire department. We didn't do the emergency stuff, but everybody, all of the firefighters are EMTs today, so a lot of their calls are to respond to the community and people who are having difficulties or whatever, any kind of an emergency that way, health emergencies. And so that's a change in what used to happen, I guess. And so those seconds that you mentioned earlier may mean life or death. And so that's great that we have that. I can tell by your enthusiasm that this is you're excited about the opportunity. When will we be opening?
So the public safety building is scheduled to have substantial completion, which means the contractor has done the bulk of their work except for punch list items on February 21st. So that is coming very soon. One of the critical, and I should back up and say, so that means we can start to slowly move some things into the building. But we have a critical challenge ahead of us because the new combined dispatch center needs to be in operation March 1st. And that's not a date set by the town, that's established by the state E911 board, because they are actually the folks and agencies in control of how our E911 or 911 system works.
Right.
And that is March 1st, a hard stop date where we have to be operating out of the new dispatch center.
Wow.
So we're really working
That's
to
right around
get
the
that
corner.
done, and all the personnel are being trained now in both police and fire, and we're working towards that. And then again, similar to the library that we talked about a while ago, it'll be a soft opening with slow transition into that building as well. Right now the police and fire chiefs are going through lots of paper and lots of stuff that they don't necessarily need to bring to the new facility.
Yeah. And I assume that the staffs, the officers on both police and fire are excited about the new facility, because I remember how they walked us through the difficulties they were having in the old facility, and this will address all of those issues, so that'll be wonderful for them.
And thank you for mentioning that. We talked a little bit about the cells being out of date and everything, but there are a number of challenges with the existing facility for the safe transport of a prisoner from the vehicle to holding, through, from processing through holding, that not only weren't really in keeping with what the state would like to see, but also put our officers in some form of danger.
Right.
So an exposure, and all of those have been eliminated. The cell block area is entirely separate from the rest of the building, so that there's no need for the two to ever meet, and that was by design. And again, lots and lots of work by lots of people to design this facility, and I think it's something the community is going to be very proud of, and as you said at the beginning, something that is going to grow with us for the next 50, 60 years.
Wow, that's great. So anyway, anything else to add?
No, I think that it's a great testament to the community for their support in letting us build this facility, and to ensure that our public safety personnel have the tools and resources they need to give the best service we can possible. And I promise you that this facility will deliver on that.
Yeah, and we'll have an opportunity, I hope, although people may shy away from going to the police or fire station, well, the emergency operations center, to do a walkthrough, but I hope at some point in time there'll be an invitation, like an open house. I realize they've got to conduct business in addition to maybe the community coming through, but I'm hoping we can do something like that. Any thoughts about that for yourself?
That's the perfect question to ask, Mike, because that's absolutely planned, and not only just one. Multiple open houses are planned for this facility once we move in, and I'm sure you'll see at least 2 or 3 of those over the summer.
Perfect.
This is the town's facility. We want everybody who's paying for it and who had a part of it to be able to see it and see what we've been able to create.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Anytime,
Appreciate it.
as you know. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
So this facility will serve our police, fire, EMTs, dispatchers, and all the administrative staff that support them in the town. So we've got a really nice facility here. I'm glad we did this tour. You can find out more about it at the town website, about the opening date. That's www.scituatema.gov. So I'm looking forward to the grand opening. I'm Al Bangert, and I'll see you next time.